Oh, remember, you can always like and subscribe to this channel and video. And if you'd like to spend some pennies in the tip jar, link below, that's always welcome. And thank you very much from all of us. Right. Moving on to Group E, which I have noted is possibly you've heard of the group of F. Well, this is the group of sleep.
Yes,
Um,
very much so.
uh, and I'll start with one of my other top tip to reach the quarterfinals is an underdog dark horse, Ukraine,
Oh,
because
yes.
I think they've got a good side. They've got the most motivation of anyone in the tournament, and they've got a time draw. And those three
Yeah,
combined, I think, will do wonders for
they
them.
they very much got the sentimental vote after some dastardly nation knocked them out of that last World Cup in the qualifying game.
And I think Scotland gave them such a helping hand too. I mean, they were the comeback kings in the playoffs because they were behind to Bosnia and they scored late on to win. And then they were behind to Iceland, and it was Mudryk who came up and scored the goal that took them to the tournament. They're also, possibly because of world events that you may have seen on the news, they have the youngest side in the tournament, average age wise. They have I mean, there are players you'll know well, like Zinchenko and Yarmolenko and Yaremchuk, who are part of the
and
quarterfinal. Sorry.
and Sergei Rebrov was
Yes,
manager
he's
as well.
manager.
Blimey.
Uh, but they've also got, I don't know if you saw much of, or you know of Girona in La Liga this season.
Yes.
They finished second. Dolbuk, I looked that up in Forva, by the way, so apologies to my Ukrainian friend if that's wrong. He scored a whole bucket load for Girona as they finished runners up in the league. And he was helped in midfield by Tianko. Again, apologies in advance. And they bring a sort of new solid steel and goals, which has always been Ukraine's biggest issue at tournaments, I've found. I've also noticed that young Zavigny of Bournemouth, who's getting praised and recently he's been doing well since Christmas in the Bournemouth team that have been doing so well. He's also in the Ukrainian squad for this tournament. So they've got quite a lot of promising youth, shall we say.
Yeah, they had 10 different goal scorers in qualifying. I don't think anyone matches that one. So, but again, they spread the goals out.
Mm-hmm.
But does that mean that, they can't actually rely on one player to simply when they need a goal? That's the question on that. But they had a horrible qualifying group.
Yes.
Yes.
England and Italy. And Stuart was already referred to earlier. They finished level with Italy. They did really well. So
And
I think this is one of the sides that I'd mark. I think they will nick second place in this group.
Every home game that they have, they've got to play away, which,
Yeah,
it's a neutral venue, but it's something you play for a year and you're not in front of any home fans. And, there's lots of natural support for them, but that should be quite helpful when they go to Germany, and it will be a mixture of home support that's matched up by away. Maybe the young talent will be a little more seasoned than you might expect.
I mean, in that qualifying group, it also had the North Macedonians. That's a really tough qualifying group that they only finished third in goal difference. So they're a tough nut to crack. Um, and to be blunt, this is a very kind group for any team to be in.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think Ukraine will finish second and advance. Uh, if they finish second, they will likely face. Right, I just bring it up a second.
Is it the group F?
Oh, the Dutch
Uh,
in the last 16.
Ah,
And the Dutch are very charitable in knockout football, shall we say?
In recent years, yes.
Yes.
I actually have already put them through to the quarterfinals, where they would be up to Portugal. So
Yes.
you know, I think you go a certain amount in this thing, but I really think they've got significant quality, and psychologically, I think there'll be a lot of people that will come on Ukraine looking for you, and yeah, fingers crossed.
As long as they don't face Scotland, I'm quite happy. Easy. I know there's a scenario where if we finish runner-up and England win their group, there's the potential for England v Scotland on the 6th of July, my birthday, 2 days after the election. I might actually die from the whiskey intake.
I was going to say that has the potential to be the greatest weekend of your life, or second or third, actually, behind the.
Or worse, cross fingers. Also in this group, we've got Romania, who were amazing in the 90s.
Yeah.
Maybe not so
Maradona of the Carpathians. Georgie Hadji.
Although it may interest fellow football geeks to know that their current manager, Edward Jordanescu, is the son of Angel, who was their manager in the 90s when they were amazing. And in fact, he was the guy who took them to the Euros 8 years ago. So they have a strong family connection.
Yes, he's the one that's got the worst win ratio of all the managers. Somebody has to have it, but
yes.
Yeah, it's it.
But even then, he still finished 5 points clear of Switzerland. So
yeah, in fact, he didn't lose a qualifier.
No, which is impressive for a side of Romania's levels.
True. I mean, they got to the Euro quarterfinals in 2000 with the help of Kevin Keegan.
And Phil Neville.
Yes. It's one of my favourite football quotes of all time when Romania beat England 3-2, I believe, and Kevin Keegan said, I think us going 2-0 up so early on unsettled the players.
Yes.
But since then, they were in the group of death in 2008 with Holland, Italy, and France, and they did well there. But France. And in Euro 2016, they were behind Albania, so they did not have an amazing tournament back then. They don't really have that much. I mean, they're relying on Alabek up front. I mean, Alabek and Mann, in 59 games between them, they have 12 international goals. That's the biggest chance they have is if Mihaly of Parma, who just helped Parma get promoted back to Serie A there. He's a younger player for Romania. If he shows some of the talent that he showed, admittedly, in Serie B, not a top flight, that's what they'll need to do anything beyond 270 minutes at this tournament. But I wouldn't bet a hat on it.
Not the problem that they've got. They looked at the list of the 4 goalkeepers they've got in the provisional squad, and there's 2 that they've got that aren't playing at the moment. It's whichever way you slice it, it's going to be a bit of a tough call. But with that, the same with their defense as well, it's going to be a push.
Yeah, particularly given that one of their centre backs joined Spurs. So has he been Spursed?
Gugin?
That's him.
Yeah. Well, he played a few times. I read a thing of it. He did I think he said that it is wonderful to be so accepted and welcomed by the Spurs family, and I read that and I thought, well, that's lovely. And then I saw he'd only played 9 times, and
Romania are still in the spot where they could say all we need to do is beat Slovakia and cross our fingers other groups go our way. But this is the group I think is going to go the way John thinks Group D went. I think that Romania and Slovakia are going to draw and slit each other out the tournament. Basically.
Poor souls. I could see it happening.
And speaking of Slovakia, their manager, Francesco Calzoni, is now in charge of Napoli at the same time for some reason. The only pot 5 team who qualified, but then they did have to get past Iceland, Luxembourg, and Bosnia, so terrifying group there.
Yeah, they are experts, aren't they? I think 2016, third in the group. 2020, third in the group. 2024.
Yep. Hamzik is now retired, of course. That's a massive blow for them. But Skriniar in defence is still there, and Lobotka's still there. World Football Magazine referred to them being experienced and solid, which is the most scary word I've seen about a football team.
They're backhanded compliments, aren't they, really?
Yes. Although I will point out that they do have a young player for Feyenoord who has already got 2 goals in 13 games, despite being born in December 2005. And if he gets on, they could have thunder in their heart again, because it is Leo Sayer. When they need him, they just close their eyes and he's with them.
Oh dear.
It's actually Leo Sawyer, but I couldn't resist.
That.
Oh no, Slovakia. Does anyone think they're going to shock the world, or are they going to be Slovakia?
Was it the best player? Probably Skriniar, is it the PSG guy?
And he's a defender.
Exactly, and maybe Dubravka from Newcastle. Again, good solid keeper. But you look round, and apart from Michael's dad joke guy, where are they got that many goals in them?
Not really. What do you think, Stuart?
I quite like Dubravka's got the record. He is the only player at the Euros who managed to save a penalty and also get an own goal in the same match, because you might recall him punching it basically straight into his own goal.
That's Spain debacle, yes.
Yeah, little unfortunate. The thing about the third place playoffs is, if you get 1 win, which they could very easily get against Romania, that could be enough. So I wouldn't write them off completely, because it's the final match and they will know what they have to do. They will most likely look at it and say, well, there's not that many draws out there. We need to get 3 points. Therefore, they go for it. It's quite a few teams will be playing in the first match or the second match, the weaker teams, so they might be thinking.
Yeah, although it does remind me of, they did sneak through in third in 2016, thanks to a 0-0 draw with Roy Hodgson's England, which nobody watched because Wales were too busy thrashing Russia. And then they dubbed, I think it was 3-0 by Germany, and the Guardian live review said that match was so comprehensive, Michael Gove is turning it into an academy as we speak. We've got these 3 teams in this group, and we've also got Belgium. And all I can say to another football fan that we know, Steve Atkins, is, boy, did your boys land on their feet with a straw.
I know Steve has this thing about, for the size of their country, it's not an underachievement. But you're going, these guys have been ranked in the top 5 in the world for how long now? and they've not gone anywhere at a major tournament, despite having opportunities. You know, to go out to Wales in particular in 2016 in the way he did was with their expectations. The greatest goal ever scored, of course.
Oh,
But yeah, you're not wrong. They have a group they should maybe not cruise through, but they should be able to kind of warm themselves up nicely for the knockout stages.
I think they'll cruise
They
through
should
this
go
group.
through first easily.
I think they'll cruise through this group because if I've learned anything from the Belgians in the last decade of tournament football is they're exceptionally comfortable against weaker teams.
What, except Wales?
In the group stage, shall we say. In the group stage, give them a weaker team like Panama or Tunisia or Russia, and they're going to be free scoring. They can't wait to beat a smaller team. It seems like Italy, and mostly Italy actually, comes to think of it, that they've struggled with, and they don't have any of them in this group. So I think they'll get 9 points, and maybe even 3 clean sheets.
Who are we picking in goal? Because this is the thing that threw me, because I was looking at the.
What's the point? Because things.
Because Courtois is out, isn't he?
Yes.
Still.
Yeah. This is the thing. He's meant to be playing in the final. He's meant to be playing the Champions League final this weekend.
Yeah. So if he does, then they pick Courtois straight away.
But he's not in the provisional squad.
Hasn't he had a falling out with He's had a falling out with Tedesco, the manager. They're not talking to each other. Yeah. I mean, of the options, I'd suggest that a chap playing for Wolfsburg is a better bet than somebody playing for Nottingham Forest or Luton, but that's just me.
We've seen on a few occasions when it's been the manager and the player having a squabble of it, it gets resolved when the tournament's right on the precipice. They, kiss and make up, and they pull it together. And it doesn't sound that it's been too horrible between the two of them, but it seems very odd when you've got somebody like Courtois who is, still a very good goalkeeper, and you're saying, well, I will not make up with them. I will take somebody from Wolfsburg or Luton rather than, swallow my pride. So
that's the thing, though.
I don't know what's going to happen.
I don't know what the rules are for replacing players who are not on your standby team already. I think you can replace people in the provisional with folk on your standby, but if they're not on either, they're not making it now. So
it's a 7th, isn't it, that they've got as the deadline for players. I think they. So that gives them a week from the final to say if it'll be a lot easier if he happens to let 3, 4, 6 goals in the Real Madrid defence. That would make things nice and quite pleasant, in fact. But I'm just a bit thrown by that somebody can really say, I will let this go. I will rather have somebody that's third rate rather than first rate and eat some humble pie.
I mean, the Domenico Tedesco he was born in 1985, and he's gone from Leipzig straight to Belgium. It feels like a weird choice, but what he's essentially done is very rapidly blood in a younger generation. The golden generation are sort of being sent to pasture.
Well, there's that rumor about Kevin De Bruyne going to San Diego or something this summer, I think. So this might be his last hurrah in Europe, really.
I mean, they've got Fiat and Fas, and now the two in defence. I've seen neither of them, although I know that they're quite the respect audits. They've got a young Doku in of Man City. They've got
Could be a useful player. Yeah.
Bakayoko of PSV. He's a good one. They've got Vermeer of Atletico Madrid, who I don't know much about, but again, if you're playing regularly for them, you're no slouch. And the one I can never get my head around is that they really love Onana in that team, but it feels weird for me that anyone who could be playing in this Everton team could be playing so well somewhere else at the same time. It feels like.
Let's say that Romelu Lukaku hasn't had a season that, to go with his best, so I think that he's going to be up front for them. Top scorer in qualifying.
And yet Lukaku has something like 87 international goals now. It's insane.
There is the fun thing with that. They've got Lewandowski is currently on 82. Of the four top European scorers, there's Lewandowski on 82, Lukaku on 83, Puskas on 84, and Ronaldo 128. So they're not going to finish first on that, but you could see somebody want to get past Puskas, perhaps.
Both two could both do this tournament.
So
that Ferenc Puskas is a bit lazy though. He's not scored in about 50 years.
He's given them the chance. He can.
I was going to say, Group E. Do we think there's going to be any unexpected, or is it going to be Brazil, Belgium, Ukraine, and then the other two fighting for third?
Yeah, pretty much. Romania, it's tough because they haven't got any tournament pedigree we know of yet. Yeah. Fundamentally, those are where I think it goes through.
Okay. And, well, I like my historical quirks. So here's one for you. In 1996, look, this alternating tournaments. Euro 96, Czech Republic, finalists. Euro 2000, Czech Republic, 2004, semi-finalists. 2008, group stage exit. 2012, quarterfinals. 2016, group stage exit. Last Euros, quarterfinals. 2024, group stage exit.
There you go. You can't argue with history.
Yeah, it's the proper Star Trek movies of group qualification.
It's a weird. There's a lot weird about the Czech Republic at the moment, but it saddens me because they're the team that got me international football, so I always want to see them do well, unless they're cheating the Scots in Euro 2012.
I wasn't going to bring that up.
Apart from that, I always like to see the Czechs do well, but I mean they nearly lost out to Moldova here. And they finished below Albania. Their manager, Shilhavi, who got them to the quarterfinals of the last tournament, quit after they qualified because everyone was talking up his job security so much. So they brought back Ivan Hazic, who his last job before this was 3 years earlier as the boss of Lebanon when they finished bottom of World Cup qualifying in Asia. Although there's an interesting story about that chap. I don't know if you know this one. In 2009, Hazic was the Czech FA president, and he made himself the manager of the national team, only for them to bugger up the World Cup qualifying. So he only lasted 4 games, and they lost out to Slovenia, who qualified. So, it's between that and they've lost a bunch of players to this big infighting about the nightclubs and personality fights, and it's all a complete mess, and it's really bad because I feel like the Czechs have they've got a nice solid team of potential and players and people who can score from the halfway line against Scotland. And I think
What
they're
you're saying
just
is the Czech Republic really like playing against Scotland.
yes. But I think they're just going to have a complete meltdown at this tournament and finish fourth here, and that I think that's a shame. Everything's going wrong for them.
Is that you just looking for karma?
Oh, but you know,
Well, obviously, Patrick Schick is probably the key to their hopes. I know he missed a lot of qualifying, which is probably why they didn't, win their group comfortably. But yeah, it's all on how he goes, I think. And you're going to get goals from Souček. I think Souček was their top scorer qualifying, wasn't he? So
and he did well in Europe
he
with
might
West
pick it
Ham.
up again.
And
So
they've got also they still got like Cerny and Barak Fiorentina and Ashik's partner at Leverkusen, Hosek. They've got quite a lot. Have a lot of talent, but you need a manager.
Potential's there.
I know.
Yeah, but sometimes you can overcome a manager.
Well, if they get young,
as Chelsea used to prove.
if they have a young player from Feyenoord who I like just because of his name, Linger, and if they let him linger, then he,
I know his favourite kind of sauces, right?
Yes.
You could feel the cranberry pun coming.
Yes.
I was waiting to see how he got there.
Yeah, it was in his head, and then
I could.
Do you have to? Do you have to? Do you have to?
Do they have to play it linger? Oh.
Hey.
I just feel bad timing. Bad times for the Czechs are coming. Do you disagree? You can feel free to.
I can see them going through. Again, I don't think it's a particularly tough group. So I think. I mean, you know what I hope will happen in this group, but what I think will happen is entirely different.
Yes. I mean, you have two opponents that are good to have if you're going to want to sneak through by the skin of your teeth. But
yeah, I think the Czechs will do that. I think there's enough goals in the team for them to sneak through.
Yeah, it does help that Czechs was the top scorer in Euro 2020. And he should be coming off the Bayer, hype. He should be in form, getting more goals in. So that's, if you've got a great defensive midfielder and a striker that scores a lot of goals, that feels like a good spine of a team. And there's two teams in that group that they can look at and say we're going to get one win at least, and that probably enough. I think they'll get that. They play Portugal their first match, and even if they get thrashed, it won't feel too heavy on them. They'll be like, well, that was a gimme. Doesn't really matter. Now the real tournament begins, and then they can hopefully use that and springboard themselves up.
Although if they then lose to Georgia, then that's a bit of a... But yes, I see your point. I don't know. As a fan of history, the last match in this group is the Czech Republic versus Turkey, which was the last game in the group for both of them back in Euro 2008. Which if I can re-jog your memory, was the big Turkish comeback from 2 down to win 3-2, going to the quarterfinals.
Yes, when they made the semis.
Yes. The second before Turkish comebacks at that tournament. And I've been waiting for them to repeat that ever since. But let's go straight into actually. The last time people told me Turkey could be the underdogs, the dark horses, to do well at the last Euros. From memory, their results were lost 3-0 to Italy, lost 2-0 to Wales, and lost 3-1 to the Switzerland, which I believe was Nukwa. So
Yes, I think they lost. I think they lost a couple. They went out in the group stages of the Euros, didn't they? As well in 2016.
yep. Well, that was a funny one because they went all attack against Spain and proved why people rarely do that.
Yes,
Let's just
it's
put
a
it that way.
stupid idea.
Yeah. I don't mind teams going all attack, but against Spain, really,
No.
it's not
I mean,
not the way to play it.
and yet Turkey did top qualifying over Wales, who admittedly aren't here, and Croatia, who we have predicted do badly. But I mean, Çalhanoğlu is still one of the key people for them in midfield. They've actually, I want to see how Arda Güler of Real Madrid does because he's getting a lot of rave reviews with Real, and he's like 18, and if he's their new hope. Although I remember them having a new hope, Emery Moore, at Euro 2016, and he vanished off the face of the planet. So
He isn't even in the squad this time, is he? I don't think.
no, he's completely off the beat track now.
Yeah, Tosun is the only one I really recognise. I think.
But I mean, they're defensively suspect.
Oh,
But
they got stuffed by Austria, didn't they, recently?
Mm.
Was it-
6-1 that was.
Yeah, that's not a good omen.
No.
they
And
are attack minded. They are very young, and Vincenzo Montella, their manager, is very into the one-touch football passing, trying to get it in the box. And as you may have heard, I like these football omens. Euro 2008, when they last got out of a group stage, they were in a group with the Czech Republic and Portugal.
There you go.
that was
Well, and I actually have them qualifying for the last 16 here by default. Oh, but yeah. So, Turkey. What are your thoughts, Stu?
I normally like a team like that. I would be a little bit amenable because it's not that long ago since they were in the semi-final. So you can sort of say, well, this might be one of those ones that they can do it. But I've got a soft spot for an underdog that we've yet to mention, and the two teams that we've got left are one that's one of the strong favourites and one who it's their first time around. So I'm being soft and picking them for qualification.
You thinking of Ray Charles?
That's very much the one. We could try to do the Georgian accent and see how well that goes.
Well, before we touch base on them, John, Turkey, yay or nay?
Again, you could. I don't think so. I think they'll kind of continue that streak they've had in the last few years, where they're just about good enough to qualify, but when they get to a tournament, they'll struggle. I don't see them having quite enough. And particularly if they're that kind of young attacking side who are daft enough to attack anybody, they might well surprise us. But equally, it's more likely to get them hammered by the quite cynical, battles-hardened type Portugal.
Call me crazy. I think they're going to. I've got a feeling they're going to lose to Georgia, get something off Portugal, and then need to get something in the last game with the Czechs. I think they're going to do it the wrong way around because that would just so
very Turkey.
yes. Stuart clearly has Georgia on his mind.
I do.
Georgia, yes,
So we
that
go
was
to
always its way.
the team that are debuting at their first ever major international tournament. Oh, and
It's it's a fairy tale thing. That was looking at the qualification. They got 8 points, and yet thanks to the Nations League, they made it through. It's one of those ones where you think, well, if you make it through to the tournament, then you can show the grit. They took Greece to penalties, which is hilarious to get qualification that way from them. I was not a fan of the way they did it in 2004. Fair play. They won the tournament, so you've got to be respectful of that. But at the same time, when it's done to them, it's quite funny. They've got the Napoli star here, Kavici Kvaratskhelia.
Kvaratskhelia, yeah. That was nicely done.
Yeah, know that. Who is very good. I've been watching some highlight videos of his work, and it's he feels like a genuine star in the making. And I'm sure Napoli fans would say he's been a star for some time, but yeah, it's great. They even have a brilliant nickname for their national team, the Crusaders. Yeah, but it's all fresh. It's all going to them, and they're in a group that if it was a group of death thing, they'd take their defeat on the chin, I'm sure. But I think they could look at it and go, well, there's Portugal, and then there's 2 teams we have a chance at, and they might well look at it and saying, oh, we'll chance our arm against both of them and see what happens. And I think that if they keep a certain amount of surprise rate, they could come second. That might be a stretch, but that's a joy of tournament football. You can get a bit of a spark from a team that's doing something for the first time, and who knows how they'll go.
I mean, they're solid. They're built on their counter attacks, and they've got the talent who can cause goals. Or George Feely, yeah, and yes, Mumble. It's what it sounds like. You pronounced it correct. They've also got Dimitashvili of Bordeaux. You got that right. And I think Ziv Zabadze did quite well in the qualifiers too. And I would point out, well, they got 8 points in the qualifying group. That was Scotland's group. So I know up front they were a really bloody tough team to play. They ran us and Norway and Spain quite close in all 6 games there. And well, they're here because they took the Nation League seriously. Norway and Sweden didn't, and they're watching at home. So that's no. I mean, I've always. I think that the Georgian side of about 20 years ago with Arveladze and Chekbatadze and all that, they were so fun, but they could never get all their talent into a team that could do more than the one-off shocks. So it's great 20 years later to see them actually qualify for something because they've had so much talent over the years. It feels earned.
Yeah, they're one of those nations that have tried and tried and tried, and it's really nice that they've got another route through. Maybe it's they sort of snuck in for the qualifications. Maybe they'll do it by coming third with 1 win and sneaking that way. It's open.
With the Czechs and the Turks, they're there with 2 teams who could easily self-destruct for them.
Oh.
Yeah. I think they could easily nick third quite happily. I think I'll put Turkey down in 4 because I think they will continue their tour form.
Yes.
So yeah, it's just a case of whether they could pick 3 points off the Czechs or Turkey. it doesn't matter how you get there. That's a clean slate now.
And Team 24 of 24 is Portugal, who I might actually say would be one of the favourites to win it, if not for two anchors. One's an old guy up front who admittedly is scoring a lot of goals still, but I feel like the team have often done their best in recent years when he's not in team. And the other one is the manager, Roberto Martinez.
Oh, yes. Well, the question is, did he overachieve with Belgium or did he hold them back?
Well, if you ask him, he said at the 2018 World Cup, no one has ever defeated him tactically, and then he lost to France like 2 days later.
I'm quite happy with this moral victory in 2016 over Wales. I'll take that every time.
You don't want your manager to come out with that "I won the argument" afterwards.
Yes.
Certainly beforehand or afterwards. It is a weird thing. The Ronaldo, is older than everyone we've previously mentioned. He's older than Back to the Future. That's how old he is.
I believe he's not the oldest player in the Portugal squad. Because isn't Pepe older?
Yeah.
Pepe's
amazing.
He's still there. He's still getting man of the match awards in Europe as well. It's insane.
The red card machine. I mean, the issue I always have with Ronaldo, particularly at this age, is his ego is bigger than his talent now. He will score goals, but I don't think he adds anything with that team. It's almost like he takes the goals from other people at the cost of that kind of team play. The team has to work around him to provide. He distorts a team now. He hasn't got the pace. He hasn't got the power. He has to have that laid on a plate for him. So I think that will cost them against better teams. It'll get them through the group because, if he doesn't score, you've got Diogo Jota, you've got Bruno Fernandes by him, you've got Bernardo Silva. They're all, class players. They've got more than enough to get through this group. But I think that Ronaldo... I mean, do you remember the last World Cup? He was dropped for the first knockout game.
Yes, and they scored 6 against the Swiss.
And what did his replacement do?
Was that not Ramos, and he got a hat trick?
That's exactly it.
Yes,
that might tell you something.
I mean, admittedly in an easy qualifying group, they still scored 36 goals, which was by far the most of anyone, and they were getting goals from Ramos, Jota, Felix, Ronaldo, whoever he is. But and also like their defense, even their Bruno Fernandes, even their defense, like Inacio and Cancelo and Dallo, they'll kick in with goals here and there too. There's a lot of talent in that squad, but I feel like they need certain people to move on to get the best out of it.
Exactly that. I think this is a group that's weak enough for them to qualify with ease. They do have a habit of just sneaking through no matter what group you draw them in, which is annoying.
Although sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, the group is so easy for them though. It really will be one where you could play Ronaldo all 3 games, make him play every single minute, and then say, "Well, you're obviously too tired to play the next game." And
I tell you what, Stu, you are a lot of football management. I like your styles.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, Georgia have Portugal last, and you're thinking maybe that's useful for them if Portugal already qualified, but then maybe the Portugal second 11 might not be the best team to play either.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. You just have a word with the Georgian coach and say, "Look, we'll let you in. Just I want to see a tackle going in on this fella at the ankle."
we've also got. I'm quite interested to see this as a football fan. Francisco Conceição is play in the squad. He is the son of Sergio from the 90s.
Oh Lord!
And despite being 20, he's already got 100 top flight appearances in Portugal and multiple Champions League goals to his name. So
Wow.
if he gets that might be yet another interesting young player that they've managed. Portugal's got a conveyor line, new players coming off it.
It's another one where you look at the people that they're not taking. They're not taking Mateus Nunes, Renato Sanchez, Pereira. There's several players that other teams would happily take with them, and they're just going, it's just not worth it. Which, is really, really deep talent that they've got. It's in a funny sort of way, it's Ronaldo that's the greatest weakness that they've got. But there's also the possibility that he has a Indian summer and he's just terrific for one last tournament, and they go storming. It's he has it within his thing, and yes, he distorts and pulls everything towards him, but it's not impossible that the quality around him is enough to make the team a viable solution. But you wouldn't bet on it, but at the same time, he's shown such will to win, and he's also just seen Messi do the exact same thing with Argentina.
Yeah,
he might be going, this can be my last hurrah, and then I can retire.
But then again, I still think one of the best dramatic ironies of the last two decades in football is that when they made that final in Euro 2016, he had to go off really early, and they played better without him.
They did. Well, the last question, Stuart, possibly the most difficult one. Who's your three favourites for the cup of the 24 teams? You can pick three favourites.
Three favourite. I'm going to go with the England team. I think are very strong contenders. The German team we will know pretty quickly. I think after the first game, we will have a good clue as to whether this is we've pulled ourselves together or not. And I'm in my prediction, I've got Portugal and France as the other two teams, and I'm going to go to France. I think they've got so many big talents, but Mbappe, like you said, is the greatest player in the world right now. I think he's going to be aggrieved after being denied the World Cup 18 months ago, and it's going to be them that takes it all the way.
John, you're free.
I will go for at least two of the same three as Stuart. I will say England again. That attacking talent they have, and they structured themselves really well to hide the weaknesses. I will certainly go with France there because again, Mbappe alone would be enough to put them in contention. Germany, I can't quite put them there because we haven't seen enough of them in competitive matches. So I'm going to just edge Spain in ahead of them.
There we go. And I'm going to be really boring and say my first two are England and France. I think they will meet in the semi-final, and I think the winner of that has a very solid chance of winning this tournament. But as I know, we're all been really predictable here. I'm going to go feck it. My third choice is, in fact, Ukraine. They're going to beat the Dutch in the last 16, which then takes them to an easily winnable match against Portugal, and then it's probably going to be Spain in the semi-finals. I mean, they're practically already in the final already. You can see there. So, yeah, mon Ukraine as long as they don't play Scotland.
I love you being the eternal football hipster.
Well, I mean, all the hipster money's on Austria, and I've said they're going to finish for no place. So, oh dear.
Wow. Although, of course, we're all talking odds, and we all know it's Scotland's to lose.
Possibly, literally. But, I mean, every game starts at 0-0. What I'm going to say. But on that note, John, it's always a pleasure. Stuart, it's great to have you on board. We should get you chatting again some point in the future. And
Yeah,
I hope that the both of you and everyone at home enjoys the Euros, because my goodness, we needed a summer tournament without viruses or things getting in the way. We've not had one in some time. So good luck and enjoy it, everyone.